Welcome back to the Frat House and another frightfully good 5 minutes at the Frat House with Frat House Mike and Sidekick, bringing you all the scariest sports news, like the Giants in the World Series and the Falcons playing the Philadelphia Eagles. But fear not, we cover it all and get you out of the dark.
You all right there, Mike?
I'm okay. How about you?
I'm good.
So, Halloween time. It's a great time.
Yeah.
What are you going out as this year?
Probably a bottle of Jägermeister.
All right. So that's what we got. Bottle of Jägermeister for Sidekick. Listen,
Big bottle.
we got a lot of sports to cover here on this Halloween edition of 5 Minutes at the Frat House. A lot of sports, but before we get to all the other sports, well, hey, let's kick it off with NASCAR. As we had Race 6, Chase Race 6, this past weekend at the Kansas Speedway. And one would think that, a big win for Matt Kenseth, well, that's going to jump him up the leaderboard quite substantially, you would think. But in actuality, he didn't move all that much at all, as you're going to see in a moment. Yes, Kenseth won that race. Others who came in the top 5 included Martin Truex Jr., who came in second. Paul Menard came in third. Then Chase drivers Casey Kane in fourth, and Tony Stewart came in fifth. How about that? We didn't mention Jimmy Johnson in the top 5 this week.
Nope.
And so how does that win affect Matt Kenseth standing on our color-coded leaderboard this week? Well, not at all. Let's get it straight. Our top 5 or our top 4 drivers haven't changed at all on the leaderboard. Brad Keselowski still stays at the number 1 spot, only 7 points ahead of Jimmy Johnson. Johnson is now 13 points ahead of Denny Hamlin, and Hamlin is just 5 points ahead of Clint Bowyer. But we were just talking about the Matt Kenseth situation.
Yep.
And in my opinion, there's not much movement there. There's only 4 races left, Sidekick. He only went from 11 to 9. Not much movement there.
Well, see, he's the biggest mover of the week. He's up 2 spots.
Well, of course.
Okay.
But is that going to be enough to...
Well, and, that we talked about this a couple of weeks ago.
Right.
He was in the basement. We started putting in the cutoff and stuff like that.
Right.
But here now, in the past couple of weeks, he's made a little bit of a surge.
Mm-hmm.
Is it enough to get him a championship? I doubt it.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see if he can keep this momentum going and see where he does wind up. And were we correct in saying, hey, here's your contenders.
Right.
And here's everybody that's not.
Right.
Also, Greg Biffle dropped 5 spots.
Yeah, he did.
I mean, he's almost down at the bottom. He's above Junior, who hasn't raced in
But
2
he
weeks.
was tenuous anyhow. Let's get it straight.
Yeah, he was in the middle of the pack, but
Right.
he just, the floor fell out on him.
Yeah. Well, now that's going to be interesting because you bring up some interesting points, because now this week we're going short tracking, and we're going short tracking at Martinsville Speedway, and that's a half-mile oval. And so my question to you is, in light of the fact you think that Kenseth can make those moves, is this a track that's going to benefit him, and how does that help us in fantasy?
Well, this track is an interesting track.
Forgot about that.
Yep. This is an interesting track because, like Talladega, this is kind of one you chalk up. You don't know who's going to do well because it's it's a short flat track. There could be a lot of crashes, and you can wind up getting out of the race. So it's kind of like a wild card about how teams are going to do.
Right.
But so we're going to go to Martinsville this week, also known as the Bull Ring.
Mm-hmm.
Most people are going to be putting their money on Hamlin or Johnson this week. Mm-hmm. So the picks that picks that I've picked, drivers to watch, are some drivers that a lot of people may not ordinarily be thinking about.
Okay.
That will probably do well at the track and still get you decent standing and may help you differentiate yourself from some of the other leaders you're trying to beat out in the segments or overall. So I'm going to start out with Jeff Gordon. He's got 6 top 3 finishes in the last 9 races. He's a little pricey, but most people, like I said, are going to be going after Hamlin
right.
or Johnson. Also, Brad Keselowski. I mean, this kid's having one heck of a year. You know, it's still pricey, but you know, may not be
Number
a
one
name
in the chase.
on a lot of people's lists. Clint Boyer. This guy, he's been perfect in top 10s on short, flat tracks this season. Timmy Hill.
Timmy Hill. Who?
Exactly. Who? Timmy Hill. Timmy Hill last week at Kansas scored the 11th most fantasy points because he ran a clean race. He's the number 32, Southern Pied U.S. Chrome. The guy's $3.50.
All righty. All right, so we're going to go after that one.
And then Brian Vickers is also our...
Now, I don't hear Kenseth in your list.
Nope.
Okay, so we'll talk about that one and see where that theory's going next week after we get through Martinsville. Hey, how about this one? Let's go talk. Let's go take a look a little bit of NHL hockey action. Well, you know something? I wish we could. We haven't brought up the NHL in like the past 5 weeks since we announced the commencement of the lockout on September 15th. And so as of today, today is the date that the NHL Commissioner, Gary Bettman, had declared as the drop-dead date before we begin losing games for the coming season. Let's see what's happening over there in the NHL.
What's the problem now?
Well, let me tell you what's happening, folks. Both the NHL owners and Gary Bettman, and you couple that in with Don Fair and the NHLPA, you know what they're doing? They're holding the entire fan base up for hostage for the third time in 21 years. 3 times now since the end of August, the NHL and NHLPA have exchanged proposals and counter-proposals. They've pointed fingers at each other. They've made contingency plans. They've postured and they've poured more rhetoric on us than the 2 presidential candidates together. In the end, this is about the NHLPA right now coming off of the current CBA profit-sharing structure that is heavily weighted, let's get this one straight, in the players' favor, 57% to 43%. The owners claim that the league and the teams are losing money with that current structure. Bettman and the owners have indicated what they would prefer is something more like a 50-50, a la the NFL and the NBA. Now, as a novice outsider looking in fan on this whole situation, that seems somewhat reasonable enough to me. So why can't we get movement towards a negotiated settlement? Well, mostly because all of the parties at this particular moment have arranged their golden parachutes. Major stars have all evacuated to other leagues. They've set themselves up with AHL teams, the Continental League out of Russia, or European leagues. They're safe. They're playing. They're getting paid. Well, probably not as much as they would be if they were in the NHL, but let's get it straight. They ain't hurting. Over on the other side, the owners aren't making any money, but they aren't losing any either. Last week in a radio interview that we did with former St. Louis Blues and Colorado Avalanche player and now current Columbus Blue Jackets assistant coach Dan Highnote, he reported about the last lockout that occurred when he was a player. In that interview, he stated outright, quote, "As a hockey player, when you go overseas and play, that's where your head's at. You're aware and you're concerned because you want to play in the NHL. But hockey players are built to be committed to whatever they're doing. I know from my standpoint as a player, as soon as I put on that Sweden jersey, I wanted to win a championship there. Wow, that speaks volumes. There's no urgency here, folks, to get this thing resolved. The players are all safely tucked away in other leagues. They're doing what they're built to do. This isn't even a matter any longer of one side waiting for the other to blink. There's nobody looking at each other. So at this point, neither side is feeling the pinch. The only side that is the silent side, the unrepresented side, the fans. I've heard comments made by some of the owners over the past that, look, when we get back, the fans will come back. Well, listen up, NHL. You're not the NFL. You're not Major League Baseball. You're not even the NBA. And to have such a cavalier attitude about the people that pay the players' salaries, keep your arenas going, and line your pockets with the merchandise that we purchase is not only borders on immoral, it's damn near close to being criminal. And I wouldn't be so quick to think that we're going to be coming back anytime soon. There's my commentary for tonight. Tune in next week when you see what Mike says.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Let's go take a look at a sport that's not in a lockout. How about
There you
that?
go.
Let's go take a look at Major League Baseball. And just about 30 minutes ago, we moved into Game 2 of the World Series. And it was just about a week ago, Sidekick, that I really thought that the Giants were on the brink of elimination. In fact, I sat here and I said, your Cardinals were 3-1 at that particular time. And I said, hey, I think the Cardinals are actually going to win this thing. But lo and behold, the Giants ran off 3 in a row. Yep. And they got the NL championship. And you frankly should have worn that jersey last week, as I had recommended.
Well, but you know what, though? Look, hindsight now, looking back at it.
Yep.
I'm not, in some respects, I'm not surprised they did. Because if you looked at the NLDS, they lost the first 2 games.
Right.
They came back and won the next 3
Yes.
to eliminate the Reds.
Yeah.
So I'm not completely, I'm a little shell-shocked because,
You think they're a come from behind
my team.
You think the Cardinals were a come from behind team?
Yeah, and I think what happened there was they frankly run out of luck.
Or do you think they got complacent?
No, I don't think it was complacent. I think you can live on the edge and have these comebacks, but there's going to be a time when your luck runs out and you get in a hole and you can't come back, and that's what we saw.
Well, to me, it was a bit unfortunate. I was kind of hoping the Cardinals were going to be there. But as it is, we've got the Giants and we've got the Detroit Tigers in there. And Game 1 was played last evening at San Francisco. And who won that one? Well, listen, that was on the way to 3. Count them. 1, 2, 3 home runs by Pablo Sandoval. And the Giants took the first one 8-3. Game 2, as I pointed out, just started about 30 minutes ago, again in San Francisco. And so just out of curiosity, where do you see this one going? How many games is this going to go? And who's going to come out on top of this? Because frankly, I think Detroit, and I hate to say it, in Game 2 is almost in a must-win situation this evening.
No, absolutely, because we just talked about, my worry for the Tigers, because I'm rooting for the Tigers to win the World Series, because I don't want to see the Giants go, because I think they're frauds. To use Mike's words.
Have a drink.
Yep, drink. They can rattle off 3 wins.
Right.
So if they win tonight, they're 3 wins away. Boom, done. World Series.
Right. And see, that's my concern, is that if, in fact, the Detroit Tigers go down tonight, they're going to have to win all 3 at home coming up in order to stay in the mix of this whole situation. Otherwise, there's no wiggle room. Yeah. So I really think that the Tigers have to win this evening. Now, apparently, the odds are that the Tigers should win tonight. That's apparently from what I heard right before we went to tape.
Honestly, if I was the Tigers, my mentality would be that every game has to be a must-win.
Yeah.
Because of that, that potential of the Giants running off 3 wins.
And, the Giants have come from nowhere near the end of the season and have just run over the whole thing. I mean, they've kind of been a sleeper, kind of a Cinderella team in many respects. Okay, so by next week at this time, here's what we're doing. We're either congratulating a new World Series champion or we're anticipating Game 7 next week at this time. Let's hope it's a Game 7. I guess maybe that's where we want to be. All right, let's go take a look at our Frat House Facebook post of the week because it revolves around baseball. And the other evening, I posted a question on our Facebook page asking, who are you rooting for in this year's World Series? With the choices being the Detroit Tigers, the San Francisco Giants, and the third choice, I don't really care, I'm not watching. Well, that post got nearly 300 views, and well, overwhelmingly the response was the Detroit Tigers. I actually found it somewhat amusing that I don't care got more responses than the San Francisco Giants. So thanks to all of you that responded. And listen, when you see me put those kinds of polls and questions up there, do me a favor and respond to them, because I'm going to be doing that more and more and more, particularly as we move through the NFL season. Oh, and there we go. NFL, let's go talk some NFL. Huh? Yeah, I did that nicely, didn't I? We are already heading into Week 8, hard to believe, of the NFL season. Yep. And so what we did was we picked out 4 games that we think are going to have an impact on the league this week. And we're going to kick it off with this much-discussed matchup of the Atlanta Falcons, who are 6-0 at the Philadelphia Eagles, 3-3. That's the 1 o'clock game on Sunday, and the report is right now that the weather could be rather nasty in Philadelphia at that particular time. But
I'm not going to get into all that.
well, that's fine. But both teams are coming off of the bye. Both are coming off the bye from last week. With the Falcons, we have an undefeated Falcons team led by the number 4 ranked quarterback in the entire league in Matt Ryan, who has 14 TDs and 6 interceptions and a near 99 QB rating for the entire season. When you go and throw in people like Michael Turner and Roddy White, one could say, well, hey, it's no wonder that they're undefeated. But at the same time, many analysts are saying, hey, back up the bus a moment. This is an undefeated team that's had a pretty easy season. Pretty easy schedule so far this season. On the other hand, the Eagles right now are swirling in controversy. And probably really one of the most concerning 500 teams in the entire league. Andy Reid last week shocked the entire league by firing Juan Castillo, his defensive coordinator, of only 22 games. Some speculated that this clearly indicated that Reid was in fact now fighting for his job. Mike Vick comes in as the 27th ranked quarterback with only 8 TDs, but a whopping 8 interceptions, 17 sacks, and God knows how many more fumbles. The guy's a turnover machine. Many in the Philly area right now are calling for Vick's replacement with rookie Nick Foles. This looks like a no-brainer in many respects in Atlanta's favor, Sidekick. Yet regardless of all the consternation surrounding the Eagles are favored in this game by 2.5. Can you explain this one? 2.5?
Well, I'm going to make this my bomb to get pick of the week. This game is going to be the streak versus the streak. You've got the streak of 6-0, Atlanta Falcons, versus Andy Reid's streak of 13-0 coming off a bye.
Yes.
So which one's going to give?
Right.
Prior to actually hearing about the weather this weekend, I was going to pick the Falcons. I think the Falcons are going to be able to get past the Eagles this week with all the controversy and stuff going on. I think you finally see Andy Reid lose a post-bye because the Falcons and the Eagles have both been on byes.
Right.
So, having said that, though, depending on the weather, if weather becomes a factor, I think the Eagles are going to get this because you've got the Falcons that are a dome game, but I'm still going to go on record. I'm going to say the Falcons.
Okay. Well, it's an interesting thing because I'm going to go with karma here on this one a little bit, folks. I actually believed that the Falcons were going to win this one. But just prior to going on air tonight, as I was looking through and circling my picks, I looked at the Atlanta Falcons and I was just about to circle it, but I reached over and mistakenly circled the Eagles. I'm going to go with karma on this one. I'm picking the Eagles because I made the mistake of circling them. So I'm going with the Eagles, and that's the only reason. Let's go take a look at the Miami Dolphins, who are 3-3 at the the New York Jets.
It's okay, you can call them the New Jersey
Yeah, really,
Jets.
exactly. 3-4. Jonathan will love that. 1 o'clock game on Sunday. This is an interdivision rivalry where Miami comes into this matchup. They also were on a bye last week. And I've been saying that this is a much improved defensive team. And I've got the evidence. In fact, they are ranked the 8th defensive team in the entire league. Ryan Tannehill himself. Well, yeah, he's turned some heads, but he's also been somewhat interception prone. So my suggestion is keep it on the ground, Tannehill, and let Reggie Bush run it as he's done for 464 yards so far this year. The Jets are coming off of a close overtime loss to the New England Patriots, 29-26. Mark Sanchez didn't have a horrible day. He put the ball in the air 41 times and completed 28 of them. He had 1 TD, 1 interception. Both Jeremy Curley and Dustin Keller helped the Jets and helped my fantasy teams out substantially by putting Nick Folk into position to go 4 for 4 on field goals in that particular game. The Jets are, again, here's another close one. The Jets are a 2.5-point favorite at home this week. It sounds to me, to be honest with you, like this one actually could go either way. Where do you see this one falling?
Yeah, I think this one's going to be a tight one. The question is, how deflated are the Jets after losing last week to the Patriots.
Yeah, they shouldn't be too much. I don't
you
think
know,
they put up a good fight.
If they can bounce back, I think the Jets, can pull this off.
Yep.
Depends kind of on how stiff the Dolphins defense gets. Mm-hmm. And obviously, again, weather may play into this game.
Yep.
But I'm going to go with the Jets.
Going with the Jets. I'm going with the much improved Miami defense, and I'm picking Miami. Let's go over and take a look at another interdivision rivalry, and that's the New York Giants, 5-2, going up against the Dallas Cowboys at their house, 3-3. How about them? Ha ha! That's the 4:25 game on Sunday. The Giants came back in the last 2 minutes, a little bit like that previous game we just talked about. Came back in the last 2 minutes of the game last week to beat the Washington Redskins and RG3 27 to 23. The Giants did not have their usual balanced offensive game plan in place on Sunday, only running the ball 19 times for 64 yards. Eli Manning was then forced to put the ball in the air 40 times and completed 26 of them for 337 yards. He had one TD and 2 interceptions. The Cowboys, on the other hand, looked like they really had their hands full against a 1-5 Carolina Panthers before ultimately beating them 19-14. Tony Romo was okay, 24 of 34 for 227, 1 TD, and a 98.5 QB rating. He was effective enough to put kicker Dan Bailey into position to go 4 for 4 on field goals as well. That was really the difference in the game, were the field goals. The Giants, again, here we go, only favored by 2, Sidekick. If the G-Men can get back to a more balanced attack, as I've talked about for, over a year, does this become a blowout?
I think this week, going into this matchup, I think the Giants are a different, and the Cowboys for that matter. I think the Giants and the Cowboys are different teams than they were during their week 1 matchup, and I think the G-Men take this.
I think the G-Men take it easily. I think it could be a blowout if they get back to that balanced attack, as I just pointed out. If they get back to that game plan, this could go double digits.
But correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
I'm trying to remember back to last week. Weren't the Giants so behind?
Yes.
For a significant portion of that game,
and they came back,
which may have led to why they were off their.
Yeah.
You get behind quick, and now you're passing to keep up. So,
but nonetheless, I think you have to play that balanced game right from the very beginning, and if they do that, give it to the Giants. All right, last but not least, let's go take a look at the Monday night game. And again, this is our third interdivision rivalry. This is the San Francisco 49ers, 5-2. And they are going to Arizona, who are currently 4-3. The 49ers had a few extra days of rest, having played they played last Thursday night. In that kind of oddly played win that they had over the Seattle Seahawks, 13-6. Alex Smith in that particular game showed shades of the mediocrity and the mediocre Alex Smith that we've come to know, going 14 of 23 for only 140 yards, 1 TD and 1 interception. Let's get it straight. That particular game, it was the Frank Gore show. He ran 16 times for 131 yards, but then added another 5 receptions for another 51. And it was the offense that struggled in that particular game, so credit the Seahawks defense. Now, the Cardinals, on the other hand, after going 4-0, have been grounded now, losing 3 in a row. Last week, it was the Vikings that had their way with them, and they lost that game 21-14. John Skelton actually was rather serviceable in for an ailing Kevin Cobb, going 25 of 36 for 262 yards, 1 TD, 1 interception. The O-line, however, was absolutely dreadful, allowing 7 sacks on Skelton. Fitzgerald was non-existent in the game, and so last week it was Andre Roberts collecting up 103 yards in the air and 1 TD. San Fran is 6.5-point favorite on the road. Do the Cards lose their 4th in a row?
Well, we got an NFC West matchup here for, potentially who's going to be the representative. And I think what we've seen now is that, to steal your line, the Cardinals are the frauds that we thought
Have a drink.
that we thought they were. they're now showing their true colors,
Yep.
and they'll keep sliding down towards the bottom, and you may see the Rams overtake them. I'm going with San Francisco in this game.
Yeah, I think we're seeing shades of the old Cardinals rearing the ugly head again. I got to go with San Francisco on this one. And I might even take the points on it. Okay, those are our 4 games for this week. Halloween upcoming weekend. Hopefully the weather's not too bad wherever you might be watching. Alrighty, let's close it out with our usual shout-outs.
Yep.
And let's start it off right at the top with, hey, our friends over at Fan Junkies. All right, get over there, join up. Folks, it's free. You haven't done it. I know you haven't. I haven't seen you over there, so you got to get over there. While you're at it, though, you got to go check out Fan Junkies Radio. All right? We've had some terrific shows. In the past couple shows, 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 hits, listens on our radio show. So that thing just keeps growing. Fan Junkies Radio over on Blog Talk Radio, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We will be on again tomorrow afternoon at 12. Great show tomorrow, so check it out if you can. Our own venture, Frat House Sports,
Yep.
growing all the time. We've got people checking it out all the time. I need writers. I need help. I need to get new content. We're going to get some new content put up there very shortly. Be checking it out. All right. Last but not least, our friends over at the Sport Goonies, our Facebook page. That's a Facebook page now. That's Facebook, only Facebook. They posted our show up last week. I was very, very happy that they did. They posted up. Probably helped us get to the views that we did for last week. I appreciate that over there with the Sport Goonies. So you got to get over there. You got to like them. They're trying to get to, I think, maybe 2,000 new people, something to that effect.
Yep.
So help them out. Go over there and like the Sport Goonies. All right. Last but not least, we got Halloween coming. So there's one thing you got to do. You got to keep us real. You got to keep us live. You got to keep us going. Have a wonderful Halloween.
Pablo Sandoval with 3 home runs. That's his first. That's his second. And that's his third off Albuquerque. The straightaway center, 422 feet. And in this inning, a single.